Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be joining us. Thanks for being here. Very excited for our guests today, as well as to talk about social justice and organizational change, and really what we can do as people analytics and workforce planning professionals to shift where we're heading, not only within our organizations, but how we in turn can influence the society at large, our societies at large. And I have to say, over the last month or so, I have personally gone on my journey, on my listening to people that have had experiences that have been beyond me. I heard on the radio the other day, and this is a bit of a stretch, but bear with me, is tourism sits side by side with peace. And the context was international travel and how we as people, if we go and sit with others of a different culture, people who live day to day differently than we do, we can develop a heightened level of empathy and understanding for the constraints that they have, the reasons they do what they do, as well as what their hopes and dreams are for the future. Taking that back to what is happening in American society today, it is amazing to me how segregated we have remained over the course of the past 50 years. Civil rights movement obviously was most pronounced in the 60s. And as someone who sits before you as a 52-year-old man, I must say that I have a lot of sorrow about how little we've come from that point. The systematic racism that has been pervasive in American society has persisted under my generation's watch, and I cannot take the blame for that. But I have reflected on my personal contribution to end it. And when I say end it, I say that intentionally. There is no place for systematic racism in any society, let alone a society that puts forth these ideals of all equal under the law, land of opportunity, things that sound great, but put in practice day to day in our society just hasn't come to be, particularly people of a Black background, Latino background, Native American background, on down the list. The other thing I'll say about that, because this can go into another social commentary that you might see on LinkedIn or Facebook or elsewhere, it's really the role of business to facilitate better learning, better ideas on how to move forward constructively. After all, we spend most of our time at work, and I sense that there's a significant portion of the population here in America that is kind of waiting this out, thinking that it's going to blow over. And the more discussions I have with people who are not Black and people who are Black, they are saying, no, this is representing a systematic change. We're now having discussions that we've never had, and publicly. And different people are having those, not just people who are influencers, part of a movement, but literally everybody. And if you are not one of those individuals, then I invite you to the conversation. I know that it is tiring. You much rather watch a show that makes you laugh or just, quote unquote, relax. This does take work. It does take commitment. And the idea that people are suffering and that we have an opportunity to alleviate that suffering, that opportunity will be fleeting if we don't grab it, if we don't take advantage of it. So part of my reflections over the past month has, what can I do? And what can we as organizational influencers or leaders do to bring about a safe culture? And I emphasize that word safe because this might fall into the realm for many under D&I. So there's an initiative over there. But safety is a very human construct. It speaks to physical safety, probably first and foremost for most people when they think of safety, but also psychological and emotional safety. So when somebody walks into a room, whether it be a Zoom meeting or a physical room in the workplace, are they having to put any of their authentic self at the door to walk into that space? If yes, then I would contend that it's not a safe environment. And then it invites the question, what can we do as individuals, team leaders, organizations to minimize, if not eliminate, the need to put that key element of self at the door and bring that in? Now, granted, there is a balance to be struck, because if you have a meeting and there's 10 people there, and if everyone's sharing their feelings and perspectives on the happenings of the day, that will take up the whole meeting and probably then some. But I would encourage you, and I have to give credit where credit's due here. I had a great discussion with Jeremy Tillman yesterday, and he was really emphasizing the focus on the little things. Everything from body language, everything from where you sit, having the courage to go and talk to somebody that you might not have otherwise talked to in a office environment, or just a general work environment. And that might be true virtually, given the current state here in the world. The final thing I'll say on this point, and it'll be a recurring theme throughout the day, because we're going to have, first off, Dr. Sonia Lucia, the head of, or the Future of Organizations studio at Globant. I'm going to mumble that again. She is a leading member of the Future of Organizations studio at Globant. She's outstanding, has a great narrative on a variety of topics. Obviously, culture, given the nature of her work, but also this idea of inclusion and what that actually means day to day, particularly given the remote work that most of us are dealing with. I'm going to have some commentary, and then we're going to hear from Thomas Igame, who is one of the founders of Tribe. And then we're going to hear from Victor Akasile, who's an HR business partner, and get his take on how we got here and what we can do to move forward constructively. So we have an outstanding lineup over the next few hours. We'll wrap up at 11 a.m. Pacific time. But until then, we're going to be rapid fire. We're going to go through this and do the best learning that we can. And hopefully this will be a value to you as we go and you experience the content that we're generating. I'd be really interested to hear from you, the viewer, the community member. What would be of value to you as we move forward? We're in this new environment. We're generating content that we've heard is of value. Number one, is it really helping you? Is it something that you share with others internally and create a conversation around? And if there's something more or different, we'd love to hear what you have in mind, and we'll do our best to make it happen. So with that, we're going to go to a brief commercial, and then we'll be here with Sonia Lucina.